Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Namaste, Shubhodaya, and a very warm welcome to another session of Global Festival of Oneness. This is Nitin Sridhar. Let me begin with a prayer. Vakratunda Mahakaya Koti Surya Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Jayanti Mangala Kali Bhadrakali Kapalini Durga Kshama Shiva Dhatri Swaha Swadha Namostute Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Veda Vibhagine Vyomavatyapta Dehaya Shri Dakshina Murtaye Namaha Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om. Once again, warm welcome to our Global Festival of Oneness. We are coming to our last week of the festival. It is already 3 weeks are completed. And as you know, every weekends, we are doing special sessions, especially in the weekend morning. We are having continued series of lectures. On Sunday morning, we are having this lecture today by Vidwan Manikandan Iyer on Mahāvākya-vicāra in Shankara Bhashya, a contemplation of supreme truth. So today will be the last session of this series. So it was planned that he would be enunciating upon the 4 Mahāvākyas in 4 sessions. A warm welcome to you, Maniji. Thank you for making time for the session. We are very grateful to you. Just a brief introduction. Vidwan Manikandan Iyerji is a banker by profession and Sanatani by practice. And with Ma Sharada's blessings, he has had the rare fortune of studying the Shastras from a very tender age. And he has studied and continues to study Vyakarana Shastra under Vidwan Sri Tilak Rao. He has traditionally completed his Vedanta study under his guru Brahma Shri Sridhara Sharma Garu, and he has also had the rare fortune to study Vedanta from very senior Vidwan Mahamahopādhyaya Shastra Ratnakara Vidwan Shri Mullaivasal Krishnamurti Shastrigal, and he has also has the rare fortune to study Tarka Shastra under Vidwan Shri Naveen Holla of Sringeri, who is the senior most disciple of Sringeri Shankaracharya Mahasannidhanam Shri Shri Bharati Tirtha Swamigal. With this very brief introduction, again, welcome to one and all. Maniji, please go ahead and start your session.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Ashasurashi bhavadangavalli bhasaiva dasi kritadugdha sindhum mandasmitairnindita sharadendum vande ravindasana sundaritvam vaktaramasādhyayameva nitya saraswati swartha samanvitasit निरस्तदुस्तर्ककलङ्कपङ्का नमामितं शङ्करमर्चिताङ्घ्रिं सदात्मध्याननिरतं विषयेभ्यः परान्मुखं नौमि शास्त्रेषु निष्णातं चन्द्रशेखरभारतीम् श्रीमच्छङ्करदेशिकेन्द्रकलिते धर्मव्यवस्थापके पुण्ये पीठचतुष्टयेति महितां श्रीशारदापीठिकाम् आरूढस्य समस्तशास्त्रनिचये पाण्डित्यसीमाजुषः विद्यातीर्थजगद्गुरो मम गुरो श्रीपादुका मे गतिः पुंभावं समुपेयुषी भगवती किं भारती राजते किं वा साधनसंभृतं धृतवपुर्ज्ञानं समिन्धेः परम् इत्युल्लिख्य सविस्मयं कृतधियो ध्यायन्ति यं भारतीतीर्थस्यास्य जगद्गुरोः कुशलदा श्रीपादुका मे गतिः। कुम्भारति समुद्भूतान् शशिमौळिप्रपूजकान् श्रीशङ्करस्वरूपार्यान् नौमि शास्त्रविशारदान् सर्वश्रुतिशिरोद्भूतसमुद्भासितमूर्तये वेदान्ताम्बुजसूर्याय तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। We are in the last session of the Mahāvākya-vicāra. The most important and the most significant Mahāvākya, Tattvamasi. This is also important from the context that, at least in the context of Advaita, that because it is a Guru Upadesha, hence it is very exalted and very important from the Advaitic perspective. This Vakya, Tattvamasi, comes in Chandogya-Upanishad. The shloka where it first comes is, it says, Sa yesho anima aitad atmyam idagum sarvam tat satyam sa atma tattvamasi shvetaketo iti bhuya eva ma bhagavan vijñāpayatviti tatha somyeti hovacha. This comes in the Chandogya Upanishad 6th adhyaya. We will see that later. But before that, the speciality of this is that this Mahāvākya occurs 9 times. The word Tattvamasi literally means you are that. Okay? There are 3 words there, Tat, Tvam and Asi. Tvam is very clear. When someone is pointing out as Tvam, it means they are literally meaning us. It is referring to me. But what does that refer to? That you are that. What does that refer to? How do we know that? It is through the context. The shloka which Sayesho anima aitadatmyam idagum sarvam. In that, the subtle essence, anima. Anima does not here mean smallness or very small. It means the subtle essence. This subtle essence, anima, indeed is the self of all of this. That is the truth. That's satyam. That is the self. Sa atma. And you are that. Thou art that. Okay, so here you refers to the individual. That now we know it refers to the Supreme Brahman. And the word Asi refers as a declarative link that reveals their essential identity. Now, naturally, one might ask, how can the I, the Jiva, be the Brahman who is omnipresent, omnipotent, Sarvajna, and so on, all those adjectives, while the Jivan is Alpajna, Samsari, Sukhi, Dukhi, and so on. For which the Siddhanti says, right, it cannot be the same. And since the Yathashrutartha, when I say Tattvamasi, nothing is much clear there. The Yathashrutartha is not clear. When the Yathashrutartha is not clear, we will have to resort to deriving its meaning through the Lakshana. Lakshana is of 3 types, Jahal Lakshana, Ajahal Lakshana, and Jahad Ajahal Lakshana. The Jahal Lakshana means, I will briefly explain that, so that when the subsequent Purva Paksha comes, you can refer to these parts. Jahal Lakshana refers to Gangayang. For example, given that is classically given in the Shastra for Jahal Lakshana is the Gangayang Ghoshaha. Village on the Ganges. Nothing is clear here. So you add the word on the banks of Ganges. In Ajahal Lakshana, Kakebhyo Dadirakshyatam, which literally means protect the curd from the crows. When a person is guarding the curd and wants to protect it from the crows, you just do not protect it from the crows, you also protect it from other insects, animals, birds, and so on. Which means you are adding extra, or the kaka there acts as a upalakshana. Okay, this is for Ajahal Lakshana, and Jahad Ajahal Lakshana means Soyam Devadattaha. This is that Devadatta. Suppose you have seen Devadatta 10 years before in Kashi, and you are seeing that Devadatta here now in Bangalore or in Sringeri. So what happens if you have to give the reference to the person that you are seeing? What do you say? You are pointing out to the old reference or the reference that you have already experienced, that is in Kashi. And you are referring that person we met in Kashi is the same person that you are meeting now, saying that Soyam Devadattaha. What are you doing there? You are leaving out the apparent things such as his attire that he was wearing in Kashi, the situation that he was there in Kashi, the place that is Kashi, uh, the things that he was holding in Kashi. You are leaving only that, and you are just taking that Devadatta as he is, and you are seeing that Devadatta here in Kashi and saying that this is that Devadatta. What is happening in Sringeri or Bangalore also is that you are leaving or taking away or leaving aside his attire on this day, whatever he is holding, wherever, from whichever place he is coming to whichever place he is standing to, you are leaving all these apparent attributes, and you are just taking that Devadatta, which also means you are foregoing few things to make someone understand that that person you met in Kashi is the same person that you are meeting in Sringeri or Bangalore. So this is also called as Bhagatyaga Lakshana, Jahad Ajahal Lakshana. In this instance of Tattvamasi, what do? You take Jahad Ajahal Lakshana or Bhagatyaga Lakshana and say that Tat here refers to the Supreme Brahman, which after negating the superficial differences, as in the Upadhis. If you are referring to the Vishnu, you give away or give up the Shankachakra, Lakshmi Patitva, Shesha Shayanatva, and other things, and just take the pure Chaitanya. Then in the case of Tvam, you are negating the very apparent upadhis, that is, I am samsari, I am so and so, I am born in this gotra, I am dukhi, I am enjoying this is not right to me, and all those things. And when the upadhis are removed, when the adjuncts are removed, that which remains as the pure consciousness is that Chaitanya, which is the same as the Brahman. So the Guru for the first time is teaching the student that you are that same Brahman, my child. You are that supreme consciousness. This is the brief introduction of Tattvamasi. From now on, we will see all the Purvapaksha and Siddhanta. The Purvapakshi is asking, all the Purvapakshis are Bhedavadis here. Right from Mimamsakas to everyone following them, all Bhedavadis are taken up here. The Bhedavadi asks, why are you taking or why are you doing Lakshana for both Tat and also Tvam? Why can't you do it either for Tat or either for Tvam? For which in Shastra it is called as Ekapada Lakshana. For instance, he also quotes from Upanishad. He gives number of proofs for that. He in this instance he gives Dva Suparna Sayuja Sakhayam Parishashvajate. We know that the famous shloka from the Upanishad. He says, he quotes that shloka and he's saying that the coexistence of Jiva and the Brahman is spoken of there. Therefore, due to this coexistence, the word Tat refers to the Brahman. One more case of associative naming is Vasantad Abhyashtagi, meaning Vasanta here in this context is used as a study, or whenever there is a study that is taken up in the Vasanta, that Adhyayana is called Vasantadhyayana. That is there in the Vyakarana Shastra Mahāvākya. Or he gives one more instance when he of the Upanishads only. He says Sanmula Prajas Sadayatanaha, meaning all beings are born out of Sat, or all beings are rooted in Sat. What is the opponent trying to argue is that the word Tat can denote Brahman due to it being the locus or the ashraya or the support of the world, and not due to its essential non-identity. This is his Purva-paksha summary. Very big Purva-paksha, for which the Siddhanti says, we will see categorically. He says, one does not abandon the intended meaning due to the demand of a single mode of figurative sense, that is Lakshana Aikyanurodha. It is well known fact, it is that the meaning that governs the modification, not the other way around, where the modification governs the meaning. In the sense, the semantic intent or the tatparya controls how the words are understood. But one cannot force an interpretation like Ekapada Lakshana that signifies tatparya. Moreover, the Purvapakshi said, could it also be called as companion, like in the case of Dva Suparna Sayuja Sakhayam, for which we say that Jahad Ajahal Lakshana posits one word retains its literal sense and the other word gives away. But if both Tat and Tvam are companions of Brahman, such a partial or literal retention undermines the identity intent, and hence it is unsuitable in this current instance. If words lose their revealing power, whenever you are doing a forced identity, words will lose their revealing power. Then the sentences communicate to fail. The sentences fail to communicate. Whenever you are forcing something onto the sentence and trying to do something, the sentences fails to communicate. Regarding the example of Dvasuparna, there is no identification of Jiva's companionship with the Brahman. Even if you go one step ahead and say that there might be antahkarana similarity or even such things, even that does not establish companionship at all. He also gave one more example of Sanmula Prajaha, Sadayatanaha. See, in that mantra, Upanishad mantra, there is no dependence of Jiva on Sat is being established there. Because the word Praja denotes only that which is born out of that Sat and cannot apply to Jiva, or so sentence does not support Jiva's dependence in any way. So in none of the above stated examples, be it Dvasuparna Sayuja Sakhayam or Sanmula Prajaha, there is, or the logic that he has given, or the Bhedavadi has given, there is no teaching of Bheda, and it is only the teaching of Abheda. So the Bhedavadi states that there are instances in Mimamsa Shastra where the dhanya grain is used just as the word for rice, tandu, is used. They use dhanyam asidhunhi only due to resemblance. So too, our in Mahāvākya, that is Tattvamasi, this logic can be applied due to its resemblance. Or he gives one more example again from the Mimamsa Shastra. He says, Adityo Yupa. The Yupa is a tool that is used in yagas. Okay, if I go deep into that, that will go away somewhere else. So we'll leave it there. Yupa is smudged with oil and it is shining bright. So what are they doing? Yupa is resembling Aditya. And so due to resemblance, Yupa is called as Aditya or perceived to be as Aditya due to resemblance. Similarly, here also, Tat to be for Jiva's resemblance. Or he quotes from the Brahma Sutra Bhashya, he says, Tadguna Saratvat Tad Vyapadeshaha Prajnavat. It states that the Brahman's union with Jiva is indicated by attributive association. He gives so many examples and says, or yuktis or logics, and says that you can call or Jiva to be an association of Brahman due to resemblance. For which Siddhanti says, as for the claim of the Brahma Sutra first, that is due to essential possession of the Brahman's qualities. Brahman's designation applies to Jiva. That is not valid in the current case because what is intended in Brahma Sutra is that the subtlety, I don't know if that is the right word, subtlety, very subtle. This subtlety is also found in the Jiva due to its association or with the subtlety of the intellect and not directly with the Brahman. By this refutation, the idea that the word Tvam in Tat Tvam Asi is used to denote Brahman merely because of Brahman's presence as inner controller, as in the Antaryami, where Jiva resides. Just as the moon is said to be on the branch in the expression Shakha Sadeshe Chandre Shakhativat, the moon on the branch is also refuted. Or even the idea that Tvam denotes Brahman, either because Brahman resides in the Jiva as substratum, or because Brahman being the agent of all actions has been negated. Now the Purvapakshi asks, why can't you take Jahal Lakshana instead of taking Jahad Ajahal Lakshana? For which the Siddhanti says, no, we cannot do that because it will lead to a lot of inconsistencies. By taking Jahal Lakshana, the results, by taking Jahal Lakshana, that results in giving up the actual referent itself, not just the qualities, but the referent itself, which contradicts the purpose of the sentence, that is to convey the identity. Meaning, if the attributes are given up, one ends up giving up the substance also, the Visheshya, which is untenable. In case of Gangayam Goshaha, which is the example of Jahal Lakshana, we do not take it to mean the village is floating on the river. Instead, The meaning is the village is on the banks of Ganges. Here Ganga is abandoned and Ganga Tata is taken up, which cannot be done in Tattvamasi, and that is why it fails. If we abandon the primary meaning of both Tat and Tvam, then Asi becomes meaningless. Additionally, if we abandon only Tvam and retain Tat, it becomes the individual, it becomes, the sentence changes to the individual jiva is nothing like Brahma, which contradicts, it is nothing like but the Brahma, which contradicts the Upanishadic intent. So we cannot take Jahal Lakshana in this instance. So the Purvapakshi now asks, why can't you do Vibhakti Vyatyaya? For instance, in the word Tat Tvam Asi, why can't you make it Tritiya? Panini Sutra also supports that. Supam Suluk Sutra optionally appears as Prathama or elided look, then it means Tena Tvam Tishtati. By that Tat you stand. Or Tatas Sanjataha. You can change it to Tatas Sanjataha. You are arisen from that. Or Tasmin Tvam. You are in that. For which the Siddhanti says, this rule of Supam Suluk rule applies to Samasa. Whenever there is a compound word Samasa, this Supam Suluk Sutra applies there. But Tattvamasi is not a compound word. It is a Vakya. Tat and Tvam retain their Prathama Vibhakti in this case. The verb Asi requires nominative subjective complements. Therefore, using look to eliminate Prathama and imagine either instrument or ablative is grammatically unjustified. So you cannot do the Vibhakti Vyatyaya in this case because the sutra through which you are doing the Vibhakti Vyatyaya, that is Supam Suluk, that rule is applicable only to Samasa. So it cannot apply here because Tattvamasi is a Mahāvākya. In the sentence, now the Purvapakshi asks, in the sentence, Aitadatmyam idam sarvam tat satyam sa atma tattvamasi. The word tat does, what does the Purvapakshi say? The word tat does not refer to atma, but Aitadatmyam. Since tat is in the neuter gender, Pumsakalinga, implying this is the essence, Aitadatmyam, of all this. That essence is real, that essence is self. Meaning, when you do this, the meaning becomes you are that which belongs to that, and you are not an identity, but you, there is meaning, there is no identity between you and Brahman. When you do the Anvaya like that, the Atma refers to Aitadatmyam. The meaning changes to you are that which belongs to that Brahman and not an identity. For if Aitadatmyam simply meant Abheda, the Purvapakshi continues, if Aitadatmyam simply meant Abheda, then the suffix Tvam or the Bhava Pratyaya signifying the beingness would become redundant. Therefore, it is better the Advaiti accepts that it is being totally different rather than that being one. For which the Siddhanti says, no, you cannot do that because your understanding is totally wrong in that case. If Aitadatmyam actually meant that this is him, that is tasya idam, then the Shai Pratyaya would have been prescribed. But that is not prescribed in this current instance. Nor such usage is seen in common language. Moreover, in words like saukhyam, whenever you use the words saukhyam, we see the suffix used to express the nature or the essence of a thing, not something that is distinct from it. When you say the saukhyam, it expresses your own nature of that padartha, not distinct from it. Therefore, this existence sat is the self of all. This etad atma and the bhava of that etad atma is the aitad atmya. The sameness, the samanadhikaranya is only expressed here and nothing else. The Urvapakshi again quotes, there are Smriti passage that says, Sasrashta. Sasrashta chaiva samharta niyanta rakshita harihi tena vyaptam idam sarvam aitadatmya mato viduhu. Here it is very clear, it is the where it is the niyanta, is the controller. For which the Siddhanti says the Smriti passages, the Aitadatmya is explained as Vyapti, pervasion of everything, by him, as in Hari in this case. That interpretation is not correct because one, it contradicts the Upanishad declaration. Second thing is Upanishad in itself says Eka Vijnanena Sarva Vijnanam. That is directly contradicting to this Smriti Vakya that says Srashta Chaiva Samharta Niyanta Rakshita Hari. So this Smriti Vakya cannot be taken. See what happens whenever there is this conflict between the Shruti Vakya and the Smriti Vakya, you will have to remember that always the Shruti Vakya is greater than the Smriti Vakya. Whenever there is a conflict between the Shruti Vakya and Smriti Vakya, you will have to go to the Paksha of the Shruti, and whatever is said in the Shruti, that has to be taken as primary, leaving aside the Smriti Vakya. So in this instance, the shloka that he said that Sasrashta Chaiva Samharta Niyanta Rakshita Harihi has to be given up because it directly contradicts the Shruti Vakya. So now Purvapakshi brings in one more beautiful Purvapaksha. He says in the instance Sa Atma Tattvamasi, the phrase should be split as Sa Atma Atattvamasi. Just as you split the Shabda in Shabdo Nityaha. What do you do there? Shabdaha, Shabdo Anityaha, Shabdo Purva Rupa sign followed by Nityaha. What do you do there? Shabdaha Anityaha. That is how you split there. So why can't you split Sat Atma Atatvamasi, where similarly, like in the case of Shabdo Anityaha, where the word Anitya in Shabdo Anityaha is a compound word split as A plus Nityaha. Similarly, you can split it as A plus Tattvamasi, for which Siddhanti states in the word Shabdo Anityaha, there are words Shabdaha and Anityaha. Correct? Two words, Shabdaha and Anityaha. What is Anitya? Here Anitya is a samasa from A plus Nitya. A is a Nyai Tatpurusha samasa with Nyai negative particle. So it is proper Nyai Tatpurusha samasa na Nityaha iti Anityaha. But in case of Tattvamasi, Tattvamasi is not a compound word. As in it is not a samasa, but a full vakya. So you cannot apply samasa negation, that is the nei tatpurusha samasa rules here. If you take just the word tat, tat is a pronoun. Prefixes like a, which is nei, don't attach itself to pronouns in grammar, at least to form a word. So the logic of splitting sa atma atatvamasi, like in the case of shabdo anityaha, is totally wrong. You cannot do that. So it definitely means sa atma tattvamasi. Okay. Now, to prove this, to make it more stronger, to make it more understandable, we will go to the Upanishad and see if it actually fits or if it actually means that. What is happening in that Upanishad is that in the 6th Adhyaya and the 8th Kanda, or even the entire conversation between Uddalaka and Shvetaketu, 9 examples have been given. I will, due to paucity of time, I will just take one example and see how it does not fit this. In the 6th Adhyaya and 8th Kanda, where it gives idea of swapiti, that is going to deep sleep. Out of the 9 examples, the first example that he is giving is of the hawk that is tied to a string. The hawk travels all over the world. He flies everywhere, and without finding a resting place, without finding a ayatanam, that is the word that is used in the Upanishad, as a result, he becomes very tired. Then he comes back to where he was tied. The sutra by which he was tied, and he rests in that place. Similarly, the manaha, meaning the jivatma, travels everywhere, and being tired of various things that he experiences, be it jagrat, be it swapna, be it sushupti, he gets tired, his indriyas get tired, he is also tired. He goes back to sleep, he merges back into swapiti or the paramatma. This is the example that the father gives to Shvetaketu, Uddalaka gives to Shvetaketu. But the Purvapakshi says, this is very clear. But the Purvapakshi says, in case of in the example of the hawk, the Shakuni, the hawk involves 2 things. It involves jivatma, it involves 2 things, which is the hawk and the string. Similarly, it also involves, in the exemplified, it involves the jivatma and paramatma. So the Purvapakshi says, so when the example is talking about the hawk flying and coming back to its resting place, to the string, 2 things are conveyed. When the hawk and the string, when in example 2 things are conveyed, even in the exemplified 2 things have to be conveyed between the jivatma and the manaha, which is traveling everywhere, and the paramatma, referred to as sat in this chapter. Therefore, you are talking about merger of 2 things, that is jivatma and paramatma. When there are 2 things, how can you say there is merger? Therefore, bheda is the tatparya, and therefore atatvamasi is the contention, because there are involving 2 things. Be it in the example, which is the hawk and the string, there are 2 things, the hawk and the string. Be it in the exemplified, there is jivatma and paramatma, for which this cannot be towards the Advaita Paksha or Advaita Siddhanta. This has to be towards the Dvaita Paksha only, where the contention is Bheda. For which the Advaiti says, that it is not the contention of Upanishad. And this chapter does not talk about the difference. Suppose if difference was the purport that was the teaching in this Upanishad, then the string and the hawk and their differences would have been applicable. But that is not the case. For better understanding, we give one more example to understand this, that we say when somebody is ill or is infected with diseases, say fever or something, they naturally are very tired. And once the fever is gone through applying some medicines or taking some medicines, he gets back to his natural state, or he reverts back to his original healthy form. So, a person, because of some disease, because of ill, and casts off that illness and he goes back to his original form. Just like that, Jiva, who is traveling and experiencing various things, be it in Jagrada Avastha or Swapna Avastha, gets tired. His sense organs are also tired due to various experiences. And he casts off all these experiences and gets back to his original nature, Swapiti or the Paramatma. So when bird has been talking about flying from place to place in comparison with the mind, that is traveling in Jagrat and Swapna, when the hawk comes back to its resting place, you are stopping all physical activities and reverting to Paramatma. To indicate this example of the hawk has been talked about, and not to show the difference between the hawk and the string. See, in the Upanishad also it says Swapito Bhavati. He reverts back to his own nature. Now, because the Upanishad itself states that reverting back, you cannot say there is difference. Okay? There are so many things that are to be explained. Like I said, each Mahāvākya in itself can be spoken about for weeks together. Okay. Finally, in the context when Tattvamasi was given, we will have to check if Bheda was the idea that was to be given to Shvetaketu. In the context Tattvamasi, in which context Tattvamasi was given. Now, what is the actual scenario that is happening there? Shvetaketu has returned from Gurukula. While returning from Gurukula, he is completely puffed with arrogance that he knows everything. There is nothing that he does not know, and he knows everything. He is puffed with this arrogance. And so the Purvapakshi says it is improper for him, it is improper to give him this teaching of Tattvamasi, which states you are that supreme Brahman, which will further increase his pride. But Uddalaka, in reality, Uddalaka is giving the teaching in order to put the boy, that is Shvetaketu, on the right track. So, Tattvamasi would not fit this situation because he is already puffed with arrogance. So, Atattvamasi, meaning you are not that, you are only a reflection of that or dependent on that, would the teaching would be fulfilled. By giving Tattvamasi, his arrogance would still go up. For which the Siddhanti says, even though Shvetaketu did return from Gurukula puffed with arrogance, when questioned by his father about his knowledge, father asks, what is that knowledge by knowing which everything is known? The boy is stunned. Boy is shocked that by knowing one thing, everything becomes known. He is stunned. There is inner transformation that takes place, and he submits to his father and seeks for that tattva-jnana. See, the shloka where this conversation happens, he say that states, Shvetaketo, yennu somyedam mahamana anuchanamani stabdosyuta तमादेशम अप्रक्ष्यः येनाश्रुतं श्रुतं भवति अमतं मतं अविज्ञातं विज्ञातम् इति कथं नु भगवः स आदेशो भवति इति. It's very clear. It is in this portion of the above sentence that gives us unmistakable impression that Shvetaketu has submitted totally himself to Uddalaka, who is his father, and the drastic change can be seen where he is stunned to know that by knowing something there exists something, by knowing which everything becomes known. So there is drastic change and he submits himself. He says, Katam nu bhagavaha sa adesho bhavati iti. Bhagavad Padacharya's bhashya in that context is also a similar way. Bhagavad Padacharya has not forcefully put something there to derive some meaning out of his own whims and fancies. Bhagavad Padacharya, that is not Bhagavad Padacharya's style. It is very, very, very clear. If you see Bhagavad Padacharya's style, is that he will take the word from the Upanishad, give an alternate word or similar word to that word in the Upanishad, and it will flow like it is a very easy, seamless flow of the bhashya. You don't have to struggle so much to understand Bhagavad Padacharya's bhashya. It is so simple. Coming back to this context, like I said, there is transformation in Shvetaketu. He says, Katham nu bhagavaha sa upadesho bhavati iti. Also, there is a rule that ātma-vidya upadesha should be given to only those who seek that, and not for those unsought, and those who are also qualified. Two things are necessary there. Anyone who seeks that knowledge has to be given, not for the unsought, and he has to be duly qualified for that. Sadhana chatushtaya sampatti and other things has to be there, not for the unqualified. Shvetaketu fulfills both these requirements. Shvetaketu, he asks for it. Katham no bhagavaha. Shvetaketu explicitly asks for this teaching. That is why he is given. The second qualification that he has to be duly qualified is that when he addresses his father as Bhagavaha, Katham nu Bhagavaha, shows that he is qualified to receive it, and that his pride with which he came from the Gurukula has gone away, and now he is submissive. He realizes that he does not know so many things. How did he come from the Gurukula? He came with the arrogance that he has studied everything. There is nothing that I do not know. He came with that arrogance. Now, when he says, Katham nu bhagavaha, sa adesho bhavati iti, his pride has gone. Now he is submitting himself, and when one submits himself, this teaching can be given. So Shvetaketu, in this context, if you see through the context also, Shvetaketu is both qualified and he also asks for it. Additionally, the Vedavadi states, in the Purvapaksha, he stated that giving teaching of Tattvamasi will increase his arrogance and pride. See, that is not the contention of Upanishad. If Upanishad contention was to increase pride by studying the Upanishad, then as well someone could have studied Laukika Vidya and be more prideful. If studying Upanishad is going to give him more pride, then there will be no difference between the Upanishadic teaching and the worldly teaching. There we see so many people in the world who have studied and who are so arrogant. That is not the intention of Upanishad. Upanishad's intention is to do the ahankara nasha, mithya ahankara nasha. He is having that ahankara because he thinks that he is the supreme, that he is this body, he knows everything, and so on. So that is not the case. The Upanishad's intention is to show him that whatever he is thinking is right is false, through which the ahankara sprouts. He thinks that he is supreme because of something. In this case of Shvetaketu, he thinks he is supreme because of his adhyayana, which is not right. That is when the Upanishad is given. Upanishad is given and told that whatever you have studied is also false. The Upanishad teaching is right. By knowing that, everything becomes known. Ena shrutam shrutam bhavati, yasya matam amatam vijñātam ena shrutam ashrutam bhavati, amatam amatam avijñātam vijñātam. By knowing that, everything is known. Eka vijñānena sarva vijñānam. So, the Upanishads does not want to increase their arrogance by again teaching the Bheda. It is now, if you see, whatever Purvapaksha the Purvapakshi gave, it is going back to him saying that only when there is Bheda teaching, there is room or scope for arrogance. When there are 4 people or 5 people, when there is Bheda, Paraspara Bheda, then the gradation will start. Then the instance of who is superior, who is inferior, who has studied more, who has not studied more, all such things will come. But the Upanishad's contention is not that. So in no way does the Upanishad teach Bheda. And it is only, the Upanishad has come only to teach Abheda. It has come to remove your ignorance. That you think that you are the supreme, you are not that. You, through whatever learning you think you are the supreme, you are not that. Okay? Now we have come to a conclusion that Upanishads do not teach Bheda. Now we'll have to also show through the text, through the Shadvida Linga Tatparya or Shadvida Tatparya Linga, that Advaita has been, it is only Advaita that is being taught and not the Bheda. The Shadvida Tatparya Linga we know is the Upakramopasamhara Abhyasa Purvatapalam Arthavadopapatischa Lingam Tatparya Nirnaye. How does the Upakrama happen? Ekameva Advitiyam. Ekameva Advitiyam. Okay? How does the Upasamhara happen? Etadatmyam idam sarvam tat satyam sa atma. It ends like that. So both the Upakramopasamhara are matching perfectly. Tattvamasi, and even there starts with ekameva dvitiyam. The Upakramopasamhara are very clear. The Abhyasa is that the 9 times of Tattvamasi, giving various examples, such as one example we saw was that of the hawk and the string. There are other examples like various madhu or the honey or the nectar that is collected from various flowers that becoming one as honey. Even the example of the banyan tree or the salt water, there are 9 examples that have been given in Chandogya Upanishad. 9 times is the abhyasa for us to know that supreme truth. Apurva is well known, it is the Ishvara Abheda Drishti. See, only I will tell, this is the highlight of Advaita. When there is Bheda, Bheda will also come to a stance where he will see Bheda between the Ishvara forms also. That Vishnu is superior, Shiva is superior, Shakti is superior, and so on. Only in Advaita it says it is that same Chaitanya that is having various forms. So Apurva is here the Ishvara Abheda Drishti. So Upakrama, Upasamhara, Abhyasa is the 9 times of Tattvamasi, and Apurva is Ishvara Abheda Drishti, and Phala is like it says in the Upanishad, Atha Sampatsyate. He merges into that Brahman. He becomes that Brahman. When the Upadhi falls off, when the Upadhis are negated, he shines forth as that supreme Brahman. And Arthavada is that Ena Ashrutam Ashrutam Bhavati, Yasya Matam Amatam Bhavati, and so on. And the Drishtanta, like one Drishtanta we saw due to paucity of time, is that the Shakuni and the Sutra example. Like that, so many Drishtantas are given. Like I said, in case of nectar becoming the honey, small rivers merging into the ocean, or the seed growing into a bamboo tree, salt and water example, there are so many examples that are given to prove this abheda. Why would someone give bheda to already a person who is puffed with arrogance? So it does not fit anywhere. Even through the Shadvida Tatparya Linga, be it Upakramopasamhara or Abhyasa Apurvata Phala, Arthavada Upavattischa Lingam Tatparya Nirnaye, nowhere abheda is being spoken of, and it is only abheda that is being spoken. Nowhere the bheda is spoken, and this is the contention of the Upanishads, and this is also the contention of Tattvamasi. This is the first, this is the very important Mahāvākya, because this Guru who is giving this Mahāvākya to a Shishya. So with this, I will complete the Mahāvākya-vicāra. We've just seen a tip of iceberg. There's so much to cover. I thank Nitinji. I humbly offer this at the holy feet of Mahasannidhanam, Sannidhanam, and my Gurus. And I close this. I thank Nitinji for giving me this opportunity for contemplating on the all 4 Mahāvākyas on all 4 weekends. Thank you. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Jagadamba Arpanamastu.
Thank you very much, Manikandan ji. It was a very fantastic, very illuminative series of talks on Mahāvākya-vicāra. Any student of Vedanta is familiar with Mahāvākyas, but to reflect upon it in such a deep manner, to understand, try to grasp the complete, full implications of the short statements of Mahāvākya is something, it is a very transformative experience in itself. This Shravana Manana itself is a very transformative experience. So we are very thankful to you for making this possible, being with us for all the 4 weeks, 4 Sundays. For this, thank you very much for this. Viewers, with this, we come to the conclusion of this morning session. Today evening, we have a very interesting panel discussion. So, the panel discussion is on the topic Shankaracharya's teachings to shape 22nd century Bharat, wherein Dr. Nagaraj Paturiji, Matushri Anantalakshmi Adinarayanan ji, Ravishankar Gundlapalli ji, and Surendranath ji will be discussing about how Vedanta, how Shankaracharya's vision, his teachings can help to shape the next century, can help to transcend or deal with address the problems of the current century so as to build a better future in the next century. So it is a very interesting and promising topic. Join us today evening at 7 p.m. Thank you. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.